Hey folks, generally when you're creating a new product, if you take a few buzzwords and throw them into a blender, you're going to get one of two results. Firstly, a cheap but compromised product which doesn't really do any of those keywords justice, but at a nice low cost. Or something that's great at everything, but costs an arm and a leg. So I was more than a little bit surprised at this, the GameMax Strike keyboard, and for more than one reason. So what is the Strike? Well, it takes a lot of those more desirable buzzwords of the moment, cheap, RGB, mechanical keyboard, and aims to give a budget-focused user all the features of a high-end keyboard, but at a much lower price. How low? Well, how does 40 quid sound to you? Yeah, that's right, a full-sized mechanical keyboard with red switches and per-key RGB lighting for the same price as many big-name spongy membrane keyboards. But what's the catch? Well, let's get what I'd consider the potential downsides of the keyboard out of the way first. Now, the incredibly low cost has been achieved by cutting back in a few key areas. Thankfully though, none of these really adversely affect the use of the keyboard. While many of the best mechanical keyboards out there feature a nice blend of mixed metal and textured plastics, with the Strike, the plastics that have been used are notably on the cheaper side of things. But that's not to say the keyboard doesn't look great with a few nice touches. There is actually a steel backplate, and by combining that with a simple shaped plastic body, GameMax has created something that still has a lot of heft to it and sturdiness, while undoubtedly helping contribute to a lower cost. Now, the packaging also goes down the functional route rather than the premium opening this package as an event route, which in all honesty I'm perfectly comfortable with, as once I've unboxed a peripheral, the packaging, if it's lucky, is going to end up in the loft, or most likely in the recycling. Lastly is the RGB control of the keyboard, and this is only done through the keyboard itself. There's no software suite here, but again at this price it's not really a big issue, but just something to note. So as you can probably tell, I'm kind of trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel here for negatives to say, as these cost cutting measures don't really have a detrimental impact on the Strike in terms of usability or looks. So GameMax here has kind of sensibly trimmed the fat where it's got to be acceptable, while managing to maintain what the Strike is at its core, a nice feeling mechanical keyboard. Now, the Strike features a full 105 key layout, which means you get a numpad on the side, something you might not use much while gaming, but when it comes to working, I do use the numpad, so it's been nice to see it included here. The keyboard also uses Otemu switches in the red variety, and having used these switches before on other keyboards, the implementation here is good as is expected. It's a cost saving measure for sure, opting for non-Cherry MX parts, but having used many of the alternative switches out there, I'd hold Otemu's up as close enough to Cherry's, and if you're making the jump from a generic membrane keyboard, the difference between that and the Otemu's used here will be magnitudes more than the difference between a budget and premium mechanical switch. As mentioned, this keyboard does feature per key RGB lighting, and it allows us to cycle through 13 different dynamic colour presets as well as 7 different static colour modes. Okay, so it's not as infinitely customisable as the more expensive options out there, but the presets included look really nice. The lights themselves are bright without being too in your face. You're actually able to get a really nice granular blend in colour change, so you are absolutely going to be able to achieve that smooth RGB colour scroll that you're probably looking for. The bleed through the keys is nice too, and I'm sure that there will be a profile that can be used regardless of your setup's colour scheme. It's also nice to see the keyboard uses anti-ghosting keys, and if you're not sure what that means, then basically ghosting is when some keyboards don't really work when multiple keys are pressed simultaneously. On some budget keyboards, this can happen with as little as 3 key combinations. Imagine playing your game and not being able to say run diagonally while holding crouch at the same time, so it's not going to hamper you while you're playing games. So we've got nice RGB implementation, a good feeling mechanical switch, and sensible cost cutting measures. They're all present. But there is actually a few little extras that I didn't expect to see on a keyboard at this price. We get a detachable wrist rest, which is actually really useful when using this keyboard for more mundane things like work or writing. And there's also a nice little touch of class in the form of a braided cable on the USB. So on the whole then, it's a pretty solid keyboard. It's miles better than some of the more budget focused gamer boards I've had the misfortune of using in the past, and more importantly, it stands up well as a 105 key mechanical keyboard. The fact that it's got some added functionality built in and very nice lighting at a low price is really just an added bonus. So would I use it day to day? Well, actually in fact yes I would, and currently am, as this keyboard has very happily replaced my membrane company supplied Logitech keyboard at work. So it gets a hearty recommendation from me. If you're after a cheap and cheerful mechanical RGB keyboard, then give the GameMax Strike a look, and you can check the links down below in the description if you want to see it. But that's it for me today folks. Let me know what your thoughts are on it. $40 is pretty crazy for a new keyboard, but does it do enough to tempt you away from some of the bigger brands? And is there anything you would change or want to see on any revisions? For now though, take care, and I'll see you all in the comment section down below, and in the next video.